Good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining us today for the webinar presented by Agilent. I am Casey Kerrigan in the System Office of Procurement Services, and I will go ahead and turn it over to Jason Green with Agilent.
Thank you, Casey. Hi, this is Jason Green with Agilent. I am the rep for University of Tennessee. My contact information will be on the last slide. I'll include that also in the chat window for those watching. We have a new contract in place with the University of Tennessee. Please contact me for any questions or quotations on Agilent products moving forward. And with that, I will turn it over to Jim Lynch. Jim is the Director of Academic Business Development and is going to speak today about our academic value plans with Agilent. Thank you, Jim.
Great, thanks, Jason. Thanks, Casey. Yeah, Jim Lynch here. I lead Agilent's academic program here in the U.S., developing a variety of programs to engage academics on the research, teaching missions, as well as some of the translational aspects of research that move on to either medical center activities or into industry. So I'm going to cover a little bit of the history of Agilent, a bit about our portfolios, and then specifically academic programs we have that align with the various missions I mentioned earlier. So a little bit about the history. Let me see if I can get my next slide here. Yes, okay, so Agilent spun out of Hewlett-Packard. So the roots of Agilent are back in the Hewlett-Packard origins, way back in the middle 1900s. Agilent spun out from HP and just before the turn of the century. And over time, Agilent has refined its focus. We had been in communications and semiconductors and a variety of other markets, but since the mid 2000s, 2006, the company really began to evolve to focus its research in analytical chemistry, bioanalysis, and also clinical diagnostics more recently. So the shift, as you can see on the right-hand side, has really evolved to today 6 areas. I think it's 6, but pharmaceuticals, life science research, diagnostics, food forensics, environmental, and chemical and energy. I'll be focusing today's talk primarily on life science research and maybe just a little bit on the diagnostics piece, but this is the main focus of the company and where we're driving our products and solutions. So Agilent is a worldwide company, so we have offices and entities across the globe. We're a publicly traded company on New York Stock Exchange, about 14,000 employees. And you can see our business is very balanced across the world. So 34% in Americas, 37% in the Asia Pacific, and about 29% in Europe. So global, publicly traded, and engaged, pretty balanced across the world. A little bit about the major elements of our business here. Certainly, we're in the instrument business. Some like to say we're in the measurement business, but the instruments do the measurement. So there's certainly a hardware component to the business. Following that is our consumables and reagents business, which these instruments use. Then there's the service and support around the equipment and consulting to enable our customers to effectively use our platforms. And then last is really on the informatics and software piece, which really helps to drive the first control of the instruments, but then, and often more importantly, is the data analysis that happens after experiments, allowing one to pull insight from the scientific data generated by our platforms. A little bit about some of those instrument platforms here. So analytical measurement is a big piece. So on the left side of this screen, or this slide, I should say, chromatography. That comes in several flavors, liquid chromatography and gas chromatography. Mass spectrometry, again, in a number of flavors across various mass spectrometry technologies. Spectroscopy, another analytical technique highlighted here. Sample preparation is the next bullet here, and this is really around the automation of sample preparation. So we've got some platforms to help with taking the human factor out of preparation of samples. So that's what we speak to there. And last, cell analysis, which is a new area for Agilent, is the ability to look at live cells and under various conditions to measure their behavior. On the right side of the screen is the more biologic and diagnostic piece of the company. So first I talk about DOTCO, which is a tissue-level staining business that we bought a number of years ago. That's primarily clinical in the use of those technologies for diagnosis of cancer. Companion diagnostics is related to the cancer diagnostic business, and that's all about sorting out which drugs to give individuals, basically the kind and stage of their cancer. So those two kind of go together. Genomics is products, and these are related to molecular biology, and so these involve microarrays, next-gen sequencing, PCR, and a variety of other molecular biology tools. Nucleic acids is a business that Agilent has. It's really around pharmaceuticals. So we manufacture GMP-grade RNA therapeutics for use in new drugs. And then last, sample quality control. We have a variety of platforms, again, looking at RNA and DNA primarily, making sure that the quality is where it needs to be for a good analysis. So that's a little bit about the platforms. Now, a little bit more detail on the individual analytical chemistry platforms. So I mentioned gas chromatography. This is a business Agilent has been in for over 50 years. There's a variety of GC, gas chromatograph products that we offer in our portfolio, from very simple and straightforward to more complex systems, depending on the application. Mass spectrometry, again, a business we've been in a long time. It's primarily two platforms there. LC QTOF is one technology, the other is LC triple, but we certainly have single quads in both TOF and standard mass spectrometry as well. So a number of flavors of mass spectrometry. Liquid chromatography here, again, it's a portfolio of systems from, again, basic mid-range and high-end chromatography. And these platforms are often placed in front of mass spectrometry to create either LCMS systems or GCMS systems for more advanced analytical measurement. And last, way on the right is the consumables, the columns, the other accoutrements, if you will, that provide the workflow for these platforms. Next, we're getting into more of the spectroscopy, and there's several flavors of that. Atomic spectroscopy as well as molecular. So the molecular has a number of flavors for UV-Vis, FTIR, Raman, that you'll see noted here. Next is cell analysis. This is a new business, as I highlighted earlier, through an acquisition of a company called Sequence Biosciences. And the cell analysis is really all about live cell measurement and, in particular, metabolism, live cell metabolism in real time. So this gets used by many biologists who want to understand cellular behavior in the context of a different biological or chemical stimulation. So it's a very quick and simple platform for looking at cell-based assays. Way on the right is the associated service support and consulting to enable our customers, to support our customers' desires to customize and platforms for their specific use. Next, getting in a couple of another additional areas, sample preparation. This is the based on something we call the Bravo platform, and this is automated sample prep primarily for proteomics. No, actually three areas: proteomics, metabolomics, and genomics. So this is basically a liquid handler that does all the sample preparation automatically. Next is the informatics business, and there's a couple of flavors of this. There's traditional chemical analysis of portfolio of tools to control the liquid and gas chromatographs and the associated data analysis. And then there's a more biological suite of tools, really some call bioinformatics, that allow one to integrate omics data. So whether that's proteomics, metabolomics, genomics data in the context of curated biological pathways. That's another part of our software business. The sample quality control is next. This is really built around something called the bioanalyzer, which has been an Agilent product for over a decade. And more recently, its updated version is something called TapeStation. And again, this is primarily about DNA and RNA and the quality of those molecules. Last is the genomics business, which is reagents for next-gen sequencing, microarrays. The new rage these days is in genome engineering, so CRISPR-Cas9 reagents is new to the Agilent portfolio. And then some more traditional qPCR and PCR reagents are also, and instruments are part of the portfolio as well. The next part of the portfolio is more in the clinical realm. And so I mentioned the DACO products. This is focused on anatomic pathology. So these are tissue stainers and reagents. Reagents include H&E stains, immunohistochemistry stains, custom stains for clinical anatomic pathology for diagnosis of primarily cancer. Next column, clinical chemistry. This is a body of reagents, mainly antibodies, polyclonal antibodies for clinical application in a clinical chemistry environment. Next is flow cytometry. This is a new business for Agilent. We just acquired a company called ACEA, that's spelled ACEA, and they are a flow cytometry business that we're just acquiring now. And it's going to be in addition to our cell level analysis platforms to complement the Seahorse platform. Nucleic acid synthesis is last here, and this is GMP grade RNA for use in primarily RNA-based therapeutics. This slide speaks about some of the acquisitions that Agilent certainly has its own R&D, but we also acquire companies, and so there's a number highlighted here. Amplicon is a genomics company that we purchased. Cobalt is RNA, Raman spectroscopy. iLab Solutions is an informatics play. It's a core lab operations software for managing the cores in academia across all different types. Seahorse Biosciences, I referenced earlier, is the cell analysis business that we have now through that acquisition. Luxcell Biosciences, these are soluble probes that get used by the Seahorse platform for doing detailed analysis at a cell level. Next, a little bit about Agilent and innovation. So Agilent is a leader in innovation and invests heavily in R&D. We invest over $350 million a year in R&D, and we'll be investing over $1 billion over the next 3 years. And so this is what fuels the innovation engine here at Agilent. Several of the new products are highlighted on the left side of this slide. The Intuvo GC, just introduced about a year ago, is an extremely small footprint, high throughput GC platform. Next is the Intuvo LCMS. It's actually a triple quad that would reduce the size by over 70%, so really dramatically change the footprint without changing the performance. And last is some Open Lab, our Open Lab software environment that we've now enabled enterprise content management to manage scientific data across the institution. On the right-hand side is a bit about a number of things here. Companion diagnostics, as I mentioned earlier, complements our pathology business. And one of the most exciting products there is something called a PDL1, companion diagnostics. This is primarily for lung cancer and helping to stratify patients and choose the right diagnostics for their cancer. Next is our genomics business product, something called SureSelect, which is about targeted DNA or RNA enrichment for next-gen sequencing. And then last is some new column technology that Agilent has introduced to help with the separation of biomolecules. A little bit about Agilent Labs. So Agilent has a forward-looking central research laboratory that is focused on high-impact, high-risk research for next-generation technologies. And we've got 6 different elements to that organization. The first one is cellular reprogramming. And this really speaks to the genetic engineering activity going on, and CRISPR-Cas9 technologies for editing DNA and RNA. So that's a big part of that. Intelligent systems speaks to the connected solutions, we call it here at Agilent. So using the Internet of Things to real-time monitoring of instrumentation, to be able to predict time for maintenance or aid in troubleshooting, or for monitoring reagent usage and resupply. The next area is cellular imaging and analysis. So this is a molecular imaging organization looking to complement our existing set of tools by bringing various imaging technologies to image within a cell, intracellular imaging and analysis technologies. Nucleic acid synthesis, this really speaks to the RNA therapeutic business, as well as the next-gen sequencing and reagent business for next-gen sequencing and microarray platforms. Omics speaks to our effort across the various omics technologies, whether they be metabolomics, proteomics, genomics, and really advancing our ability to characterize genes, proteins, and metabolites more precisely and at higher sensitivity. Life science and pathology workflow engineering. This speaks primarily to the automation of pathology and anatomic pathology, automating the entire workflow from sample preparation through measurement through data analysis using digital imaging technologies. That's a little bit about our forward-looking research, which feeds our new product streams. Now, a little bit about Agilent in academia. So this is becoming a very strategic business for Agilent. It represents 15% of Agilent's business worldwide. The primary focuses are in life science research, material science, chemical research. Related to these areas is also the omics solutions. So anyone involved with biomedical research would be using the genomics, proteomics, and genomics technologies. That's another big piece in our academic business. And then the other focus is really on the individual investigator labs as well as the teaching labs. We recognize it's both a teaching mission and a research mission, and we're looking to support both. So next is a little bit about some of the individual programs we have for engaging with academics in a collaborative way. The first on the left is the University Research Program. And this is a program where Agilent provides cash funding for primarily proof of concept projects. These typically involve funding of a graduate student or postdoc for a year to work together with a university professor as well as an Agilent mentor in R&D to work on an area of mutual interest. And these are typically are centric to Agilent products or technologies and could focus either in sample preparation, measurement, or in data analytics domains. The second program is something we call the Thought Leader Program, and this is a multi-year cash and sometimes equipment and reagents engagement, where we look for leaders in certain disciplines that are of strategic interest to Agilent and seek to partner with leaders in emerging science and technology fields. Last, on the right, is our Early Career Professor Award, and we do this every year where we award cash and sometimes equipment to early career professors who are doing research in areas of strategic interest to Agilent. Some additional programs here. First is the teaching mission at the university and how we can better support that through providing software, teaching tools, and I'll get into this in a little more detail on the following slide. We call this our Tomorrow Scientist program, and I'll get into more detail here. The individual investigator labs, we call them research labs. We've got another number of programs focused here. Several of those were highlighted on the previous slide, but in addition to that, we've got programs to support the startup of new faculty labs, combining training, reagents, equipment, matching dollar programs to help new investigators start quickly in their research mission. On the upper right is our effort to support core labs in academics, and we've got a variety of programs to help core labs be successful, and there's several are highlighted here. The Science Exchange Program, Technology Refresh, how do we work with cores to make sure that technology is current. iLab software, I mentioned that at the beginning here, is a business operations software environment for core labs to manage scheduling, consumables, preventative maintenance, be able to look at instrument utilization and other things that are important to running a core lab. And then the lower right, some of the broader programs here, consulting and service, grant writing tools. So we're putting together a portfolio of tools to help academic researchers be more successful in writing grants. That's all about. And Agilent is an active internship program as well. So we're looking to hire and have interns from the academics to help support Agilent's growing business. A little bit more about the Tomorrow Scientist program. This is focused on the undergraduate teaching mission. And starting at the lower left, teaching tools, this is a variety of videos, slides, and other primers that faculty can integrate into the teaching mission. And those are all free. You just need to self-register on the website and download the tools. Second is a simulator, an HPLC simulator. So this is another teaching tool really based on focus on separation science that will enable students to learn without actually being in front of an instrument. So that also is no charge. Third is a virtual teaching environment that allows students to understand better an LCMS system, so that's liquid chromatograph and mass spectrometry system, through a virtual tour through a real system. So that's there, and that is also no cost. Data analysis licenses for free. So students can access our data analysis software and they can be loaded on a server or on individual PCs or whatever works for the institution. So data analysis is free for students. And last is the Chrome Academy portion of our program. And this is the Chrome Academy is a third-party education entity that we support. And through Agilent, students get 5 years of access to the Chrome Academy content for free. So lots of things for teaching here that I hope you can exploit. And then last slide is really about Agilent values. We touched on some of these, not all, but certainly innovation and contribution is a key one. Trust and respect, teamwork, big here. Integrity, extremely important here. And then down below, speed, focus, accountability. Really what drives the mantra here. And why I've been here for almost 30 years. So one more slide, I think, here. I think it's Jason's contact information. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Jim. Casey?
Yes, well, that concludes our webinar. Thank you so much, Jim and Jason. If anyone has any questions about the framework order or wants to contact Jason to place an order, there is his contact information on the slide, and please feel free to reach out to him. And
thank you
again,
for the opportunity and for your business. Sorry, Casey.
Sure, no, it's fine. Great, thank you for attending this afternoon. And this concludes the webinar.
Bye-bye.